Madison, Tim Roth, Mexican, and then the old man, the old general.
Right. So they get in there, obviously, they are aware that, okay, these people are also bounty hunters. They are made aware. We as the audience, when we see them, we're like, okay, pardon?
Not all bounty hunters. Remember the British guy said he was a hangman?
Yes.
Kurt Russell's character smells something fishy when they all explain themselves, and then he takes all their guns.
Right. Could we say that for the first, for the first two acts, you could say that Kurt Russell was the central character, because most of the time we're looking at things from his perspective.
Absolutely.
Because we don't trust the people he doesn't trust. You know?
Exactly. He is our Lord Stark.
Yes, that's the best example. He's our POV character, because through him we get introduced to everybody else.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in a way, he's like I won't say he's the most honorable guy, but yeah, he's our POV.
Yes.
Ambitious. He's tough.
Stubborn.
He's stubborn, yes. Not willing to listen to anyone. Definitely.
Yeah, because I think he handcuffed Jennifer Jason Leigh's character and was not willing to let her go, no matter what she said, no matter how convincing she was. If she needed to go to the loo, he was going with her. He didn't care. You know, and he was treating her so unkindly, because honestly speaking, at that point, he has been doing this for a very long time. He was in the game for a very long time. He even has white hair, I guess you could say, because like he's been at this game for a very long time. So he doesn't trust any of the people that he captures. You know, you could say that he probably got his fingers burnt in the past. Yes. That's why he's behaving the way he is.
Also, remember, they actually kind of set it up nicely, because they call him the hangman. Because as Samuel Jackson says, and remember, Samuel Jackson shows up with 3 corpses. Remember, as opposed to him who shows up with a person titan. Because in the old days of the bounties, it was easy just to shoot a person in the back and then take their face to the thingamajiggy. All right, cool, get your money. Whereas the hangman makes sure you hang. He doesn't want any middle ground. He wants it to be thingamajiggy. And they even have a fight about it, where he's like, Samuel Jackson's character is like, it's not supposed to be that hard. And then he's like, yeah, well, it's not supposed to be that easy either.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a kind of a clashing of ideas there.
Kurt Russell was a hangman? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. They call him the hangman because he doesn't kill you. Most bounty hunters, even in Django, remember, they just straight up shot that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting.
Yeah, same principle applies to if you ever watch Unforgiven with Clint Eastwood, he was a bounty hunter, shot first, questions later.
Right.
Yeah.
The main aim is to get the job done.
Yes.
Right. So obviously so basically what happens from here onwards is we get a bit of everybody's backstory. We're not really sure if the backstories are true or not, but one thing that's clear is every backstory that is explored does add something to the story overall, and how the characters in the room behave once they know the certain information about the character in question or whoever was saying something.
Yeah.
So I don't know who we should start with to explore some of these stories.
Okay, well, number one, spoiler alert, it turns out everyone's lying. Well, first of all, number one, they set up something that say, okay, something's rotten in Denver. Someone here is lying. Someone here is on the wrong side.
Right.
And let us know who it is.
Right.
And as we go over everyone, we find out they start hanging out together. Michael Madison's character is quiet. The general, when we find out who the general is, Samuel Jackson is pissed because everyone here was kind of involved in the Civil War, and that general has a brutal past where it turns out there was kind of a similar blizzard to the one now, and he left a bunch of black people, a bunch of prisoners of war, to freeze to death.
Yes.
Instead of helping out. And Samuel Jackson knows this, and he is pissed, and he wants to shoot him straight.
Yeah.
But in that thing, they can all be bad people, but they must all follow the rules. And if Samuel Jackson touches him, they will hang him.
Right.
Even what's his face won't be on his side at that point, because at that point it's cold.
So nobody's is supposed to kill anybody. It's like it's a safe haven.
Yeah. It's also the law. I mean, you can't just murder someone in cold blood. I mean, even with bounties, they're bounties. Have it done.
And I think it was the soon-to-be sheriff who was making sure that Samuel L. Jackson's character does not touch this person. Because it was like, hey, do you know who this is? Do you know who this man is? Show some respect. You know, this man saved us, he's a hero, and whatever. And even though this guy is making a case for him, this old man keeps yapping and infuriating Samuel L. Jackson's character even more.
Absolutely. And even
I hate it. Sorry, please continue.
No, I was going to hear what you're going to say.
I just said that I just wanted to say that I loved the old man, but I also hated him. I hated what he did.
Yes.
But I also loved his acting, man. That man, because it's like he's too old now for you to do anything that's really gonna be satisfactory.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you cannot deny some of the heroic acts that he has done over the years. So it's sort of like a dilemma, you could say.
He was for the South, so I mean, he worked for the South. So he was the bad guy for the Northerners. Samuel Jackson's the North, the sheriff and that old man are the South.
Right.
And then you find out that Samuel Jackson did terrible things. You find out a little bit earlier that Samuel Jackson did some brutal things as well. It turns out he's hated by both sides basically because down a prison camp that basically had a bunch of white people. And he
burned it down.
Yeah, basically, because there was like a prison camp next to a forest. So he burned the forest down, and it took everyone, including some of his own people. So which is why he carries that Lincoln letter around. Well, because it's the South, and he's black, so he needs something to make sure he's on everyone's good side.
I guess you could say it's like asylum, so it's political asylum of sorts, even though it's at a small scale.
Emotional asylum.
Pardon?
It's emotional asylum.
Right.
It won't actually help you. That letter won't. But if white people think, oh, this guy is important, he's an important black guy, he's not just any N-word.
Oh, right.
Then they kind of let him go, which is ironically what if Kurt Russell didn't have that letter, would he have been allowed onto that cart? Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Probably not.
You never know. Like, I mean, at no point does it say that there is a part where Kurt Russell gets mad and he's like, maybe all you people are liars. So, who knows? Maybe Kurt Russell's character I don't think he's far racist, not really, but at the same time, he's racist enough because, I mean, he lives in a time period where, like, that's the norm.
Yes, that was the norm, yeah. It was not illegal or anything of that sort.
Yeah, exactly. So he does see Samuel Jackson as other, but because of the letter, he kind of still vibes with him.
Right.
But he doesn't get weary about the Mexican guy. So you kind of feel like there's definitely racism for the sheriff though. No jokes.
Yeah, no, he doesn't sugarcoat anything. He goes all in when it comes to Samuel L. Jackson's character. What?
No, when he's like laughing at Samuel Jackson for the letter from Lincoln, he's just like, a letter from Lincoln? And he just stops. But Samuel Jackson gets his revenge brilliantly.
He does. Mm-hmm. No, we'll get there. And Michael Madsen was basically quiet for a reason. Maybe we should get into that.
Yeah, let's get into it. You can go take your turn.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Michael Madsen is the brother of Jennifer Jason Leigh's character.
I would say no, he was a part of the gang per se. I wouldn't say a brother per se. I would say.
Oh, okay. Because the brother is who's that guy? Channing Tatum, who has not yet been revealed, but he was actually underneath the basement or whatever you want to call it. But basically, you could say Michael Madsen was happy to see Jennifer Jason Leigh's character so he was trying to make sure that he kills Kurtrussell.
Okay, wait, are you talking about the first plot point of like the first like major plot point with the poison where you don't see who it is?
Okay, yeah, can we get to that? I think you can explain it better than I can.
But I think the Samuel Jackson scene happens first.
Oh, really? Does that happen first?
Yes, because I remember they're still arguing with each other over whether or not that was a justified kill, if I'm correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, the old man keeps yapping. Samuel Jackson has just had enough of this, and I think he blows his brains out, right?
Well, no. What happens is Samuel Jackson then says, you know, your son's name is XYZ.
Oh, yeah, that part, yeah.
Like, you know, I met XYZ. And then he tells this insane story of how he brutally tortured this
morbid story.
And then murdered this man's son.
Right.
And the story is convincing enough for this old man to pull a gun out first. And as soon as he does that, he gets blasted. And then while the chaos is happening, because the sheriff is like, well, you can't do that. Well, technically you can because the old man pulled the gun out first.
Right.
A hand comes in and drips a little bit of poison into the teacup.
Oh yeah, and we don't know who did it because clearly everybody's wearing gloves. So you cannot really, you don't see the pigment, you don't see anything, whether the hands are wrinkled or anything. Because if they were, then you would suspect, okay, it's an old white man.
Yes.
Yeah. And basically, someone convinces Kurtrussell to have a sip of that, of whatever is in there.
Yeah, but yes. And that's when the story becomes shocking because our main character, our Lord Stark, what other TV show can I think of?
Our Goku, you could say, because Goku dies in the same arc in the beginning of the thing.
Goku definitely. Who else dies? I'm sure we know a few characters who died. We think of,
I mean, think about it for a second. If you were to watch The Lion King the first time, you had no idea what The Lion King is about. It's about a lion king. And you're seeing this guy who's a dad and he's a king, and he dies. I mean, you're like, what the hell?
Yes, I mean, but just call him a mentor. You wouldn't really. I wouldn't think you would call him a protagonist.
Right. He's like a Dumbledore type of.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Also, the protagonist that we know that just dies. Next thing you know, we're following someone else now. But yeah, point is, we think he's the main character. Like, we think maybe you're gonna see him at the end. Nope, he starts puking blood. Oof. And it's projectile, and it's insane. And it's Tarantino at his finest.
Yeah, just the way Tarantino likes it. I mean, if you were to hear Tarantino explaining some of the scenes, I mean, I remember in Kill Bill 2, the part where Uma Thurman takes out Daryl Hannah's eye out, and Daryl Hannah is busy like reacting like that. If you hear Tarantino explaining that scene, he's laughing, man. He's in stitches as he explains. And to you, it's like, this is a dark scene, dude. Like, yeah. But Tarantino likes such things. So that's his stuff.
Yep. It's his thing. And what's so nice about it is that we've all come to expect it now, which is ironically what makes Hateful Eight a better movie, is the meta of us expecting that from him. Because basically what it does, it hangs a sword of Damocles over our heads. Because now,
please explain that.
Huh?
What does that mean?
Damocles is a Greek, basically a Greek king called Damocles, was being a king when one of the peasants was like, I wish I was in your position, one of the work servants. And the king says, all right, come take a seat on my throne. Well, I mean, like to see what it's like to be king, right? And then as the guy is sitting comfortably, Damocles waves a sword over his head. And then the servant freaks out. And then Damocles is like, now imagine that over your head for the rest of your life, and you'll understand what it is to be a king. So the idea is there's this promise of impending doom hanging over your head all the time. That's basically what Damocles is. Okay. So now with every Tarantino story, there's the promise of impending doom. In the same way, like a Stephen King novel, you know that it's going to be chill until the last chapter where everything explodes or a machine gun wrecks everything and 2/3 of everyone dies and it's insane. Same principle. You know that in a Tarantino movie, everyone's about to die horrible. But the question is, who will die? Yeah. So basically, yeah. So that's the sort of Damocles. So we all know that in our meta minds. So now the first piece of action, you're like, holy cow, what's going to happen next? That's kind of the brilliance of his writing, not necessarily storytelling. But we still don't know what's going on yet, if I'm correct. I could be wrong. You can correct me. But if I'm correct, we still don't know what's going on yet. And then Samuel Jackson takes over the situation right now. And that's when he starts to tell the story of Minnie. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. And this is where like you kind of see that Samuel Jackson, he had an interview once where he talked about people always try to accuse Tarantino of being racist. But meanwhile, in every single story that Samuel Jackson has been in, he's always been the smartest person in the room. The black guy has always been the smartest person. Even if it was Samuel Jackson's character that realized there's something going on here.
Right.
It was his character. In Jackie Brown, when he's like the bad guy, he's the one who manipulates all the people. You know what I mean? All the pieces.
Right.
He's the smartest person there.
Right.
So yeah, and in this one he kind of puts a lot together, where he realizes he tells that beautiful story. Where he's like, "Thingamajiggy, every stew has a taste to it." And he's like, "You said Thingamajiggy left 3 weeks ago. I'm tasting this stew that was made today, and this is Minnie's stew." So how can it be gone 3 weeks ago when this is definitely her stew? You can't make her stew. It's impossible. Then he says, she put a Mexican in charge. There used to be a sign up on Minnie's door. Dude, it's so deep.
Okay, wait. Just to explain who Minnie is, I think Minnie is the owner of this place. Just if someone is getting confused. Yeah.
Yes, Minnie is the owner of the establishment. And they said earlier that Minnie is gone. She went on holiday. This guy is looking over the winter period. Then she come back.
Who's the guy? Michael Madsen's character.
Yeah, the Mexican. He's in charge until the summer's over.
The Mexican. Okay.
Yes, and he goes to see family. Cool. Right. Then he says there used to be a sign that said "No dogs and no Mexicans," and then they took the sign down because eventually she started letting dogs in.
Right.
Yeah. And at that point, he starts to add up. And then he pulls up the couch that the old man was sitting on. And he says, Minnie has a husband, an old man husband, who's been sitting on this chair his whole life. Right. If this husband were to leave this establishment, the chair would have to come with him. And yet the chair's still there.
Right.
They pull the carpet off the chair, the chair sitting, and there's blood all over it.
Right.
That's when he just annihilates the Mexican. Just pa. You're lying about this pa. It just totally old school squibs. And he just makes this man's face explode.
So basically the central character now becomes Samuel L. Jackson.
Yes.
Yeah.
And remember, he took everyone's guns. So now he's running the show.
Right.
And then this is where I want to talk about the writer's flair. Okay. Because now Tarantino himself then decides, I'm going to be the narrator now. And then says, go back 7 hours.
Right.
Black. Says, go back 7 hours. Now, this is an actually interesting thing. Did you watch this George Duhamel superhero TV show that lasted only one season?
What's that?
The Josh Duhamel TV superhero show.
What's it called?
It was on Netflix, one season.
When was this?
Last year, I think. You must know it, man. He was like a superhero.
He was the superhero?
Yeah, he was a superhero. Turns out there's like an age of heroes where like human superheroes, supervillains are just normal.
Oh, is it what legacy? I don't know.
Yes, something like that. Yes.
Jupiter's Legacy or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember. I've never watched it. I didn't even know Josh was the one in it because I guess the costume.
Man, he's the original. Like he's like the still a good guy version of Homelander, I guess. Superman, basically. Okay, never mind. Example. What's a different example I can use? Sin City's 100% black and white. Okay, imagine a TV show, and every time there's a flashback, right? What will happen is they'll change the color filter, or they'll, yeah, you know what I mean? Like suddenly it's gray, and you're like, okay, this is a flashback.
Right.
You know, that's it being obvious. Then sometimes the yellow filter, okay, this is a flashback. You know what I mean?
Right.
Then sometimes what they'll do is they'll put a little bit of writing in the corner there, 5 hours earlier.
Yeah.
Sometimes
they do that in Suits a lot, and all they do is have actors with different hairstyles. You know, like we're supposed to believe this is 10 years ago.
Okay, yellow filter, if I'm correct. So I remember correctly, if I watched the episode where he goes to go on his funeral, you see the flashbacks of the mother.
Yes.
I think that's what happens. You're right. They had like a yellow filter. Then sometimes a Scorsese film will do a flashback, and you won't even know that it's a flashback. You have to pay attention.
You have to pay attention, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to pay attention. You're right. You have to pay attention to that. Yeah.
Exactly. Tarantino goes the full 180 the opposite direction. He cuts the movie. Man, the director comes out and says cuts back to the past, basically. And then we get to see Channing Tatum, right?
Yes, Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum, yes. And who else?
Michael Madsen.
Yes, Michael Madsen, Tim Roth. All these.
And the Mexican, I think.
Yes, and the Mexican. We see the haberdasher when there's still light, it's still a normal day. And we see everyone working their normal day. And yeah, you want to go from here?
I don't really remember much, but you can correct me if I'm wrong in any place. By the way, you didn't say anything wrong for mine, if I remember correctly. But basically, they get in, they introduce themselves. Obviously, they don't introduce themselves as the infamous group they're known to be. They just pretend to be normal people who come to who need some accommodation. Obviously, they came there so that they can meet up with the sister, right? Channing Tatum's sister.
Yes.
And okay, they get accommodated, but I think what happens is someone slips up, and Mary, is it Mary?
Yeah.
We see Mary preparing the stew. Obviously, we see the husband sitting on the couch.
All the clues set up.
Yes, basically what Samuel L. Jackson was saying is basically we're like, oh flip, he was right all along. We see the sign. We see all these things that he was saying. We see that no dogs allowed, and someone slips up. I don't remember who, but then obviously they have to take matters into their own hands. They kill everybody, get rid of the evidence, take down the sign, get the old man sitting there. Then Channing Tatum goes in the basement to hide himself but at this point everybody knows who he is, because he's the brother of Jennifer Jason Leigh's character, so he will be easily identified by anybody because there's a bounty on his head.
Yes.
Maybe I rushed into it, but I don't remember the details.
You kind of did it right. Yeah, there was a massacre. Yeah, and he has to go into hiding. Yes, as they prepare to intercept. Yes.
I just cannot connect the old man to the couch. What I mean is the old man who came later, who was killed by someone else. I can't connect how he got to the couch eventually, but I'm sure
he was a visitor. If I'm correct, the visitors was killed as well. Like he was, I don't know if he was by himself. I don't think so. But yeah, he was passing through.
Yes, I think he saw everything but kept quiet, right?
Yes, exactly. They were like, if you say anything, we'll shoot you. Because they wanted enough people to make it still look normal. So they so that way they could hide the blood.
So he was at the wrong place at the wrong time, basically.
Exactly.
Jeez.
I think when they call it the Hateful Eight, they could have called it the Fateful Eight. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Okay. So basically, at this point, they just make us understand what the hell is happening. And you know, the thing about Tarantino's movies, right? Some of them are non-linear, and I think he does that deliberately so that he keeps you entertained. So basically, what that means is, if you are not paying attention all along, by the time you connect the dots, you might not get everything.
Yes. But it's so smoothly done that it's hard to not connect the dots. You know what I mean? Like, it's so smoothly done. I feel like you'll catch everything.
Right. I just mean in general. His movies in general are non-linear. I mean, like Pulp Fiction, for instance, it's all over the place. If you're not paying attention, then
yes,
yeah,
revolutionary for his time. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's kind of now the reason, of course, they show that whole backwards thing is to show that is to make sure that you know that Channing Tatum didn't come out the blue.
Right.
And again, what I was talking about before about the writer's flair.
Right.
So, for example, The Witcher does a cool thing where they go back and forth in time, back and forth in one scene, and they set up a thing and they replay the same scene twice. And because the context has changed, the scene means something different. So that's a very clever thing that they do. And I think it's a thing is to show yourself as a writer almost.
Right.
Show yourself as like, for example, like a Scorsese one, where like in Godfellas, where they go from the car to the nightclub, well, to the whatever those jazz clubs or whatever, to the front seat. It's all that in one shot. Children of Men, beautiful ones. It's a thing that achieves a specific goal, but also kind of struts your stuff. You know, it's peacocking. You know what I mean?
Children of Men does it so well, man. I remember the scene where that lady's giving birth, like how it's all interconnected at that one moment, and everything is just chaotic at the same time. That was amazing.
Brilliant. Exactly. So yeah. So yeah, same principle here. Is the idea is as a writer, I think we all need to be careful of ourselves. Watch your ego as a writer. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Always check your ego. Always be humble. But I do think you do need to sometimes just structure stuff every now and then as a writer.
Right.
In your edit, if it's good, it'll stay there. If it's not good, it will go. So don't be too arrogant about it. If you feel like it didn't work after like a few more edits, then get rid of it. If you feel like it didn't work, then you'll be proud of yourself. Always go for the best. Go for the best.
And funny enough, Marvel is doing the opposite, because if you see some of the deleted scenes that they have done in some of their movies on YouTube, you're like, why did they take this scene out? It makes no sense to take out this particular scene in this particular movie, because it would have made the movie so much better. But that's a story for another day.
Exactly. Then you're like, I'm sure it was a producer, because there's no way.
Speaking of that, I read somewhere this, I think yesterday or the day before, where it is said that the biker scene in the first Terminator movie, I think, the producer wanted that part cut out, and he spoke to Arnold Schwarzenegger to say, please talk to James Cameron and ask him to take this movie out. And Arnold was like, only a producer would say that I should take out something like that. So obviously that didn't happen, and we have the iconic bike scene.
Yes, with the amazing magical shotgun that just what else is ever used.
Yeah,
that's exactly it. So I feel like that's something that's a Tarantino out here, but it's his 8th movie. He's allowed to get away with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it achieves multiple goals, setting up the history, setting up how clever Samuel Jackson is, and also setting up, hey, by the way, there's a guy underneath Samuel Jackson's legs right now.
It's basically the bomb under the gun, but instead of a bomb, it's actually there's a human or a criminal under Samuel Jackson's feet. Right.
Exactly.
Sorry, the bomb under the table.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then then time catches up, and then bang bang, they shoot Samuel L. Jackson basically, and then it becomes a Mexican standoff now.
They shoot him from below, right?
Yes.
I think they shoot his testicles or something.
Yeah, shoot his balls off. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then of course he's in bad shape, but the attempt to take over things gets shut down by the sheriff.
Right.
And Samuel L. Jackson is like, "I'm going to shoot your sister if you don't come out."
Right.
And yeah, then Channing Tatum disappears as quickly as he came. Like they just show him smiling, and then bang, damn, that was deep, dude.
But you know what? I think that was the whole point of Channing Tatum's character. The point was to shock us because honestly speaking, I didn't expect him. I think I read that he was in the movie, but I didn't expect to see him in that situation like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Interstellar all over again.
That's a movie I still need to watch. I need to watch that movie.
What?
I know.
Okay.
I know. But anyway, yeah, so Channing Tatum dies. Obviously, Jennifer Lee Cook loses her mind.
Yes.
Because it's her brother, you know.
Mm-hmm. And then they decide to make Thingamajiggy an offer that he can't really refuse, the sheriff. Mm-hmm. They're like, "Look, man," because I think Tim Roth, because remember they tried the coup, so Tim Roth's character is shot at this point.
Yeah.
I think, and they're like, "Just so you know, we're 4 gang members. We were ahead. We were trying to intercept you guys, so we raced ahead. Mm-hmm. So the rest of the gang will show up, and we will kill that whole town, and we will kill you before you kill her." Mm-hmm. So basically, the idea is you let her go, and take our heads as bounties. That's 18,000 over there, 15,000 over there. This is who is a part of the gang. This is who they are. There's it's $50,000 waiting here. So you don't have to do anything. Just let that gang leader let her go, and everything's fine. And then it kind of hangs on this sheriff who's been looking down on Samuel L. Jackson this whole time as the N-word, just shutting that whole thing down. You know what I mean? Right. And it's in a situation of you can be a good person, or you can be, one of the Fateful Eight. Because technically, he still is one of the Fateful Eight. You know what I mean?
Right.
As a Southern racist. And then he decides, nah, no, thank you. I'm going to stick with the law. And
and that says a lot about his character because he wasn't really sheriff as yet, but that decision alone shows you that he was going to be an upstanding sheriff. He was going to be a dependable, law-abiding citizen.
It worked out, yes. Mm-hmm. And then realizing that that the only one who's going to make it at this point is basically her, they decide to hang her. They're going to have the hangman is going to have his hanging.
Right.
Yeah, because they also ran out of bullets. Yeah, forgot. Yeah.
Jeez, that's hectic. And then what happens after that?
Then the story kind of ends. They're both dying because they've both been shot. And then the sheriff reads Abraham's letter, the one that he was laughing at before. And it's kind of a nice moment between them. And then the story kind of ends with one of the most beautiful songs.
I've always wondered whether. Wait. By both die, you mean Michael Madsen and Tim Roth?
Yes.
How did they die again?
When Samuel Jackson was shot, I think they pulled out extra guns, and they tried to take out everyone. And then that's when the sheriff got shot, and that's when the sheriff and Samuel Jackson shot them.
Oh, okay.
Shootout. Very Reservoir Dogs type stuff.
The question that I've asked myself for the longest time, even to this day, is: do you think Samuel L. Jackson survives that?
No, I think everyone dies. I think everyone is dead. By the time someone shows up, assuming if the gang thing was true, if all those gang members showed up, then they find everyone dead. If it turns out it wasn't true, then probably would have been a few weeks before anyone came to that place anyway, because it was just a blizzard recently.
Oh, yeah.
So chances are there's no way they don't find everyone dead.
Because everybody was wounded to one extent
Yeah,
or another.
left and they were both wounded. You don't walk off getting your testicles shot off with an old. That's not a thing. There's no debrief. There's no match.
That's true. That's true. That's very true. I guess I forgot that small detail that okay, there's a blizzard and it's pretty hard to come by, and even if anybody came in to get medical assistance, it would take weeks, days, you know. So nobody's gonna make it. Nobody's gonna address that wound.
In those days was a saw.
What's that?
A medical assistant in those days was a saw. They just cut off whatever part.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. There were no injections that help you and no.
Antibiotics.
So, who's the best character in your opinion, and who's the worst character in your opinion?
I would say the sheriff would be the best character. He stole everyone's hearts, even though he was a racist. So much fun. Interesting.
Sorry, please repeat that.
I said he was so much fun and so interesting. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I think he kept everyone's attention.
That's true. And then the worst?
The worst would be, I don't know if you can see me still.
I can see you.
Oh, you can see me. Okay, cool. The worst would be, that's a tricky one. I mean, I guess Tim Roth's accent was kind of funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess Michael Madsen, I think. Don't get me wrong, he was still good, but I think he was the least amazing.
I think Tim Roth and Michael Madsen, for me, I've put them on the same level because they didn't really do much.
Yeah.
But I think what made Tim Roth slightly better than Michael Madsen is that he had the funny bits, you know. When someone comes in, make sure you lock that door and you make sure that.
Yeah, that stuff was pretty funny, dude. That stuff was great.
Yeah, and him doing that gave you sort of, I guess you felt a bit more safe that he's around and he made you laugh. You feel like maybe he's not that bad. Only to find out that he's actually one of the most horrible ones. You know, so